once again we're here at Ricky's Dragster Garage. It's been quite a while since we've stopped by, and Rick's got more projects that he's working on, and here is the Nanook. And Rick, would you take over and explain what's been going on with this car, what challenges you've had?
Well, the biggest challenge was keeping all you dragster guys out of here so I could get back to this car.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's come along. The progress has been great. I started with the brakes on this car. It has contemporary brakes on it now, mounted on pretty much everything else after that is fabricated. Once the calipers were mounted. The brake handle, the clevises.
Now the brake handle you made yourself, is that correct? That's something you had to make?
It's a replica of what came out of the car, but the original one was so full of holes. My biggest fear is that you grab a lot of brake and the handle will snap on you. And the parachute releases are my own design with the cable clamps and whatnot, and that worked out really well.
Now you made a decision to go with contemporary brakes, and your reasoning behind that is?
Well, trying to save old brake calipers is really a challenge unto itself, and more work than it needs to be. So I just put brand new Woolwood discs on this thing and made the parts to connect everything up.
And the only thing you're using that's existing is?
It's the disc rotors. Okay. Everything else is either replacement components or fabricated.
Right. Because you just don't want to mess around with brakes, right? No matter what you're doing.
If you can sleeve them effectively, then you could probably save them.
Yeah.
Sleeving is a lot of work.
Yeah. And safety is a big point too. I mean, you want to make sure they always work.
And what's interesting is the brakes on this car are probably the best out of any of these cars around here right now. And so after that, the next challenge was fitting the car to the car owner. And one of the stipulations was that he did not want me to do any cutting or welding on the chassis as you see it. So I had to utilize any existing tabs and mounts to mount everything else. And the other side of that story is that the original parts that came with this car, they're really not in very good shape. And things like the throttle pedal, you couldn't use it anyways. It wouldn't even meet minimum specs for a throttle pedal. And another thing is that Gary, the driver and owner, he wanted the pedals a little farther forward than what they would have been mounted in the original position. And so I fabricated all the pedals and the mounts. This is the clutch assembly down here. And the throttle linkage is on the other side. And all this stuff mounts off of all the existing tabs and things that you see on the chassis.
And yet they're extended forward, like you said.
They're forward by a solid 2 inches over what they would have been using the parts that came with the car.
Let's go over and look at the that fancy accelerator pedal, because that thing is pretty amazing.
That was a challenge because all I had to work with to mount it were these tabs here. This is actually the original mount for the original throttle, and it's way forward for the driver.
Right.
So what I did, I made this bracket here. It mounts off of these 3 points on the chassis. I put a bell crank in it because I had to convert it. This is just a stop to set it at a certain angle. The bell crank converts it into a pull. It has a Crowler 8-point injector on the blower, and it's a pull type opening. And at this point, I pulled the engine out this morning because I need to modify the motor plate here. This marking here shows where I'm going to slot it on the mill, and the cable will come right up through there and go straight up to the injector.
I see.
And that's today's objective.
Okay.
Once I get past that, and the fuel shutoff cable, I got to clearance the plate on the other side a little bit.
And the now, as far as the injector is concerned, and the reason why that's slotted at an angle is because
the cable's going to come up almost straight right through the plate.
Okay, and then up to the blower.
Yeah, up to the injector.
And the injector, excuse me, which is over here.
It's an old Crowler 8-port. These are really cool. You don't see a lot of these yet, but they're a neat injector. And of course, the 671. This is a magnesium blower. Mike Cool prepped it for me a while back, so that's all taken care of.
Now tell me about your shifting mechanism over here that you put together too. This is pretty wild.
Well, the car was originally fitted up with an air shifter, and I converted it to mechanical linkage, and at the same time converted the Lenco to have a neutral. This is the neutral level to disengage the driveline, and this is the shifter. It's all made out of chromoly, and as you can see, it's pretty long, but it puts it in a comfortable position for the driver. It takes about a 20-pound pull to shift it, so it works really well. At least without the engine running.
Yeah, right.
We'll find out later.
Yeah, right. That's coming up in a future episode.
Throttle cable, custom length. The fuel shutoff cable is laying around here somewhere. That also is a custom length. But I'm really hoping this thing will be running in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Gonna have to chase the engine a little bit.
Right.
It's getting there. All these little fabrications are pretty much done. And it's all just blown apart today to get to that motor plate.
Wow.
I'll modify that. All this stuff will be back in the chassis by the end of the day.
Well, things are moving along quite nicely here, and what we'll do is we'll stop back by in a couple of days and we'll see what progress you've made.